Thanksgiving, at least in theory, is about coming together, family, food, a few too many stories about the good old days. But lately, I've started to wonder if these holidays are just pop quizzes I keep failing, some measure of closeness that never quite adds up in my direction. I remember last November, the way my mother, Linda, directed us all to squeeze together in front of the fireplace for a family photo. Smile, she'd called, camera held high, her voice cutting through the chatter. Only later did I realize, scrolling through the pictures Madison posted online, that I wasn't in a single shot. Not a deliberate snub, I told myself. Just one of those accidents that happen when someone's always behind the scenes, helping with coats or clearing dishes. But that feeling, like a draft sneaking in from an open window, lingered longer than I cared to admit. Now, late November in Minneapolis, the air has that sharpness that nips at your cheeks, and the leaves have all turned brittle and golden. At home, I try to set a festive mood, pumpkin-scented candles flickering on the coffee table, a woven throw tossed over the couch, a playlist of mellow jazz in the background. My phone vibrates, and my mother's name flashes on the screen. I hesitate, then answer, bracing myself for the usual requests. "Emily," she says, brisk as ever. "Can you handle the turkey and desserts this year? I just have too much on my plate." She barely waits for my reply, already moving on to instructions about the butcher's phone number and the bakery's new pickup policy. There's never much room in these conversations for how I'm doing or what I might have planned. Still, I say yes, of course I do. Every year I hope this small act might open a door, make me feel less like a background character in my own family's story. After we hang up, I scroll through the family group chat, which is already alive with memes and inside jokes. Alex, my younger brother, is sharing football stats and arguing about which uncle will burn the gravy first. Madison chimes in with a barrage of emojis, half of which I have to Google. There are talk of carpooling and a mysterious pie-off challenge, but my name hardly pops up except for a stray "Emily will get the food, right?" from my dad, Robert, who probably hasn't looked at the group chat in weeks. I try not to dwell. Maybe I'm just sensitive. I open my laptop and place the orders for a free-range turkey and 2 pumpkin pies at Carlson's Butcher and Maple Grove Bakery, the local spots my mother likes best. I add in a pecan pie for my own sanity. Baking is my way to steady the nerves. As the confirmation emails land in my inbox, I can't shake the sense that my only ticket into these gatherings is through the food I bring. Later that afternoon, as dusk sets in and a cold wind whistles against the window, I tie on an apron and begin to bake. I measure flour, brown sugar, vanilla, each step familiar, calming. The pecan pie is meant for my colleagues at the design firm where I work. At least there, my contributions are noticed, even celebrated. I can picture Mark in accounting hovering by the break room, hoping I'll bring in something homemade again. I hum along to the music and let the scent of toasted nuts fill the kitchen. When the pie is cooling, I text my friend Rachel, asking if she wants to meet for coffee. She's quick to say yes, and we arrange to meet at our usual cafe the next morning. Before bed, I scroll through the group chat one more time. The plans have grown. There are questions about seating charts, side dishes, whether Alex can bring his new girlfriend. Still, not a single message to me directly. I type, looking forward to seeing everyone, but my comment floats there, unnoticed, as the conversation spins on. The next day, I meet Rachel at Birch and Brew, a warm little cafe with mismatched chairs and baristas who know us by name. She's already waiting, hands wrapped around a steaming mug. I sigh as I sit down, letting the heat seep into my fingers. You ever feel like you're showing up for a party that no one really invited you to? I ask. Rachel arches an eyebrow. Is this about your family again? I laugh, but it's not quite lighthearted. I I'm doing everything I can to be included. But it's like I'm only visible when they need something, food, errands, whatever. She stirs her coffee thoughtfully. Families are weird. Some people make noise to get noticed, others, like you, just keep giving and hope someone pays attention. Maybe it's time you speak up, Em. Or at least stop bending over backward. I nod, but I'm not sure I know how. There's a comfort in being needed, even if it sometimes feels one-sided. Still, I promise Rachel I'll try. On the drive home, frost patterns spiderweb across the windshield, and I can't help but think of how many holidays I've spent trying to earn a seat at my own table. At work, people light up when I walk in with a fresh pie, and a thank you means exactly what it says. In my family, appreciation is quieter, layered beneath old routines and the assumption that I'll always be there, ready with the right dessert or a helping hand. As Thanksgiving edges closer, I double-check the pickup times, set reminders, and even print out my order receipts, determined not to let anything slip. Maybe this year, things will be different. Maybe my efforts will be enough to finally pull me into the center of things, even if just for a day. But that hope flickers as I check the RSVP list. Madison posts in the chat, names highlighted in cheerful colors, little turkey emojis next to each person. My name is missing. I stare at the screen, unsure if it's just a mistake or something more. Before I can type a message, my cousin, Julia, sends a private text. Are you coming for Thanksgiving? I thought you had other plans. Confused, I type back, of course, I thought I was. The three little dots appear and then disappear, silence stretches between us. I set my phone down, the chill from outside suddenly settling in my chest. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm overthinking. But in that quiet moment, with the last traces of pie still warm in the air, I wonder, how many times can you offer yourself up before you start to disappear? My phone pings again. I reach for it with the familiar flicker of hope. Maybe someone's finally replying to my message in the family chat. Maybe it's my mom with a last-minute question about the dessert. But instead, it's a private text from my cousin Julia. Her words stop me cold. Hey, are you sure you're not coming for Thanksgiving? Your mom told everyone you're out of town. I blink, rereading. There's no way I read that right. Out of town? I haven't made any such plans, and the only trip I've taken lately was to the bakery to make sure the pies were perfect. I feel my heart knock against my ribs as I stare at her message. For a long moment, all I can do is stare at the little blue bubbles, my fingers hovering above the keyboard. Finally, I type, I'm not out of town. I thought I was coming. She replies quickly. That's what I thought. But your mom told Aunt Marcia you had other plans. Everyone's a little confused. A cold, familiar heaviness fills my chest, the same feeling I used to get as a teenager, when I'd find myself folding chairs or sweeping up while the rest of the family clustered together in the living room. I was always given jobs to do, never asked if I wanted to do them. Never asked what I wanted at all. I call my mom without thinking. The phone rings several times. Just as I'm sure she's not going to answer, Linda picks up. Her voice is just as crisp and brisk as always, but there's a careful lightness to it, as if she's hoping this will be a quick, easy call. Hi, Emily. What's up? I get right to it. Are you sure I'm supposed to come to Thanksgiving? Julia just texted me that you told everyone I had other plans. There's a beat of silence. I hear the distant hum of the television, the clink of a glass. Then she says, a little too brightly, oh, well, it's just going to be immediate family this year. Trying to keep it simple, you know. The house has been so hectic. You're always so busy, so we didn't want you to feel pressured. Immediate family. My mind races, counting. Who's coming, then? Alex? Madison? Yes, of course. Alex, Madison, and Robert. Oh, and Alex is bringing Brittany, and Madison wanted to invite a friend from school. You know, just the usual group. I stare out the window at the gray sky. Mom, that is immediate family. So why am I not invited? Her voice gets quiet. We thought you had so much going on at work, and you always seemed tired. It just seemed easier this way. Less tension, fewer expectations. I can't help myself, I laugh, but it's not a happy sound. Was there tension? Because I don't remember fighting with anyone. She hesitates, then tries a different tack. It's not about fighting, honey. We just want a low-key dinner this year. That's all. But it's not all. I feel the ache of being left out, of knowing my family could gather and share a meal while deciding my presence was, at best, optional. I thank her and hang up, feeling the sting of tears. I pace the apartment, trying to calm myself. On the kitchen counter, my carefully folded order receipts for the turkey and desserts seem to glare up at me, proof that I'm good enough to bake, to organize, to cover costs, but not good enough to be wanted. My phone buzzes again. Rachel this time, how's the holiday chaos? I debate whether to answer honestly. Then I type, turns out my mom didn't invite me. But she still wanted me to order all the food. Rachel doesn't sugarcoat it. That's awful, Em. You're their daughter. They can't just use you and leave you out. I stare at her words, feeling both validation and shame. For years, I've tried to convince myself I'm imagining things, that maybe I'm just too sensitive, or maybe my family is just quirky, not cruel. But here it is, spelled out. I am excluded, and the only person who seems surprised by that is me. As I wander the apartment, lost in thought, a memory rises up, one I thought I'd left behind. I'm 15 again, in my parents' house after another family dinner. The grown-ups are chatting, my siblings are playing games in the den, and I'm left in the kitchen, stacking dishes, and scraping plates in the sink. The sounds of laughter and clinking glasses drift in from the other room, and I try not to feel jealous or lonely. That night, when I finally finish, my mother hugs me and says, "Thank you, Emily. You always know how to help." But I remember thinking, I wish someone would help me. Now, I run a hand over the cool counter. The apartment is neat, but the silence feels heavy. The loneliness I thought I'd grown out of has just changed shape. It wears a different face but feels the same. My phone vibrates again. Another message from Rachel, don't let them get away with it. You always do everything for them. It's okay to say no sometimes. Or at least, stand up for yourself. I type, I don't even know what I want to say. I just feel invisible. Rachel replies, maybe you're just finally seeing things clearly. That's not nothing. I set my phone down, letting her words sink in. I glance again at the receipts, turkey, pumpkin pies, pecan tart. All in my name, all on my card. Suddenly, my mother's casual dismissal echoes in my mind, we thought you wouldn't mind. As if my feelings are an afterthought, as if my presence or absence is just one more variable to manage, no more meaningful than swapping out a side dish. For a long time, I just stand in the quiet apartment, watching the lights of a neighbor's Christmas display blink on across the street. I'm not sure what to do. But for the first time, I remember, the food is in my name. The orders are under my control. Maybe I can't control how my family chooses to see me. But as I sit in my kitchen, the familiar swirl of hurt and resignation mixing in my chest, I realize there's at least one thing I can control, what I do next. Dad always said, let's not make a fuss, just go with the flow. I used to think that was wisdom. Now, I wonder if it's just another way to keep the peace at my expense. Outside, a cold November wind rattles the window pane, shaking the last stubborn leaves from the trees lining my street. The city feels especially busy today, everyone hustling through the last errands before Thanksgiving. I watch the bustle from my window for a long moment, then, with a new steadiness, reach for my phone. The bakery is my first call. Maple Grove Bakery, the same place my mom insisted on, where we've picked up pies for as long as I can remember. A cheery recorded message gives way to a real person after only a few rings. Maple Grove Bakery, this is Molly, the voice says. Hi, Molly, I reply, my voice steady, polite. I have an order for pickup tomorrow, 2 pumpkin pies and a pecan tart for Emily Thompson. I need to cancel, please. She hesitates, apologizing. Oh, those are in our prep queue, but let me check, one moment. There's a jingle of kitchen noise, some muffled words, and then she's back. I can refund your card, though it may take a few business days to process. Are you sure you want to cancel? I close my eyes, feeling a pang of guilt even now. But I steady myself. Yes. Something came up. Thank you for your help, and I'm sorry for the trouble. It's really no trouble, hon, have a good holiday, she says gently. There's an unspoken question there, but I let it hang. I thank her again and hang up. Next, the butcher. Carlson's has always been my mother's favorite, and I know the manager, Paul, will remember my name. He picks up right away, his voice cheerful even amid the background clatter of a busy shop. Emily. Got your order here, big bird this year. How's your mom? I take a breath. Hi, Paul. Actually, I need to cancel the turkey pickup. Plans changed. There's a pause, he sounds a little surprised, but not offended. No problem, I can refund your card right now. Hope everything's okay? I smile, grateful for his lack of questions. Yes, thank you. Hope your family has a good Thanksgiving. As I end the call, I feel an odd sense of release, like untying a knot I didn't realize I'd been carrying. But the relief is quickly joined by guilt, and I wonder if I've just made things harder for everyone. It's not in my nature to seek revenge, I just want someone to notice how much it hurts to always be the last considered. I pour myself a cup of tea and curl up in my armchair, the mug warming my hands. The kitchen is still, the quiet punctuated only by the hum of the refrigerator. I think about my dad, Robert, who's likely already in his recliner at home, probably reading the paper, letting Linda handle everything as always. I can almost hear him now, if he knew, no need to make a fuss, Em. It's just dinner. But it's not just dinner, is it? Not to me. A text from Rachel pops up, checking in, how's your day going? Coffee later? I reply, actually, yes. I could use a change of scenery. The coffee shop around the corner, Birch and Brew, is a second home to me, low light, the smell of ground beans, local art hanging crooked on the walls. When I arrive, the barista, Sam, gives me a friendly nod. Rough week? He asks, sliding a cranberry scone across the counter with my usual order. On the house today. I try to protest, but he just shrugs. Consider it an early Thanksgiving. I smile, touched by the small kindness. Thank you, Sam. You have no idea how much that means. I settle into a window seat and watch the city drift by outside, parents corralling kids in puffy coats, a couple arguing over pie flavors on their phones, college students laden with grocery bags. There's something comforting in the ordinariness of it all, a reminder that the world spins on, families and all, regardless of what goes on behind closed doors. The tea soothes me, and for a while, I let my thoughts wander. Maybe I was too harsh, canceling the food. Maybe it's petty. But then I remember how quickly I was erased from the plans, how my efforts are always assumed but my presence never requested. I didn't ask for much. Just to be seen, just for someone to want me there, not just what I can bring. As I head home, the wind whips my scarf loose. The apartment feels even quieter when I step inside. I run my finger along the counter where the receipts used to sit, now tucked away in a drawer. A small, defiant thrill lingers, mixed with the worry I'll pay for this tomorrow. Thanksgiving morning dawns gray and cold. I wake early, as if my body knows something's coming. I brew coffee and open my laptop, mindlessly checking emails and the news, anything to keep busy. Then, my phone starts to buzz, once, twice, then in a flurry. Linda, of course. I let it ring once before answering, steadying my voice. Hello? There's panic on the other end. Emily. The turkey isn't here, and the bakery says the pies were canceled. What happened? We're supposed to eat at 2. I hold the phone away for a second, then bring it back. I imagine my mother standing in the kitchen, hands on her hips, confusion giving way to irritation. I picture Robert, glancing over his newspaper, pretending not to hear. I answer calmly, maybe more calmly than I feel. I didn't think you needed anything from me this year. For a moment, there's only silence on the line, no brisk instructions, no tidy excuses. Just the quiet shock of someone who's never heard no. After I hang up, I pour another cup of tea. The city outside is still, blanketed in the hush of a holiday morning. I wonder what will come of this, if anyone will see what I've done, or if it will just become another story, folded away and forgotten. Maybe Dad is right. Maybe I shouldn't make a fuss. But sometimes, not making a fuss is its own kind of surrender. A knock at my door breaks my reverie. I find a paper bag hanging on the handle, a slice of pumpkin bread, a note in Sam's handwriting, hang in there, Emily. Happy Thanksgiving. I smile, small but real, and sit down by the window, the city waking up beyond the glass. For the first time in a long while, I feel a spark of agency, something new, something strong. Silence is a language of its own, one that says more than words, especially when it comes from your own mother. Thanksgiving morning, the city is hushed, everything covered in a thin dusting of snow that makes every sound softer. The world feels paused, like a held breath. My apartment is unusually quiet for a holiday. Just the gentle tick of the radiator and the occasional thud of footsteps from the neighbors upstairs. I wander the small space, cup of coffee in hand, unsure what to do with myself. There's no pie to check, no schedule to worry over, no last-minute run to the store. For the first time in years, I have no role to play. I check my phone, nothing from my mom since her frantic call. No follow-up. I wonder if she's too busy piecing together a last-minute menu, or if she simply doesn't know what to say now that I've upset the family order. My cousin Julia breaks the silence, her text arriving like a pebble tossed in still water. You would not believe the scene here. No turkey, no desserts. Your mom's running around like she lost her mind. Alex and Madison are pretending not to notice. It's kind of a mess. I let out a half-laugh, picturing the chaos, the empty platter where the turkey should be, a table that looks incomplete without the usual pies. I try to imagine Linda, always so organized, struggling to improvise. For a second, I feel guilty, then, strangely, a little bit vindicated. Maybe this is what Aunt Tracy meant, years ago, when she told me, sometimes you have to force people to see you. Julia keeps texting, snippets of the dinner drifting in as I brew another cup of tea. Your mom is snapping at everyone. Madison tried to make boxed stuffing and nearly set the oven on fire. Alex disappeared into the garage with Uncle Rick. Grandma brought her own dessert, store-bought. Total scandal. I can almost hear Julia's wry laughter through the screen. I settle on the couch, phone warm in my hand, and let myself linger in this in-between space. For once, I am not running to fix anything. I stare out the window at the slow, gentle snow. Minneapolis looks almost peaceful in the white, as if the whole city is wrapped in a soft blanket. My phone rings, startling me from my reverie. It's Aunt Tracy. Her voice is warm, even through the static. Well, kiddo, she says, I hope you're enjoying your first stress-free Thanksgiving. I smile, feeling a wave of gratitude. I'm not sure if it's stress-free, but it is quiet. She laughs. Quiet can be good. And listen, don't let anyone make you feel bad for standing up for yourself. Linda's learning what happens when she takes you for granted. For a moment, I just listened to her. Aunt Tracy has always been the one to see through the family drama, the first to notice when I was hurting. I thank her, and we talk for a while about everything and nothing, the weather, a recipe for cranberry sauce, the latest office gossip. Before she hangs up, she says gently, be proud of yourself. You did the right thing. After she's gone, I check my phone again. A new group text from Linda appears, chirpy and impersonal. We missed you at Thanksgiving. Hope we can move forward. There's no apology, no explanation, just a thin layer of civility spread over the rawness underneath. I stare at the message, feeling its hollowness. It's not an apology, it's a way to put the whole thing behind us without actually addressing what happened. The others quickly like the message, adding emojis and brief missed you too comments. Madison sends a heart. Alex replies with a thumbs up. No one says a word about the chaos, or about the fact that I was left out in the first place. I close the chat and put my phone face down on the coffee table. For a long moment, I sit in the quiet, letting the feelings wash over me, relief, guilt, anger, a small, surprising pride. I did something for myself, even if it made a mess. I pull out my journal, the leather cover warm from the sun at the window. Writing helps when I can't make sense of the swirl in my head. My handwriting starts out neat, but soon my thoughts spill faster than my pen can keep up. I never wanted to be the villain. But maybe I need to stop fearing it. Sometimes, when you draw a line, people trip over it. Maybe that's how they finally notice where you stand. I pause, tapping my pen against the page, and think of all the Thanksgivings I spent cleaning, carrying, patching things up so no one else would have to. This year, the mess belongs to someone else. For once, I am not the one smoothing it over. The afternoon drifts by slowly. Outside, the snow thickens, muffling the world until it feels far away. I heat up a bowl of soup, curl up on the couch, and let myself feel the ache and the comfort of being alone but at peace. As evening falls, my phone vibrates again. This time, it's a voicemail from Linda, short, clipped, and full of forced cheer. Hi, Emily. Just wanted to say we missed you today. Hope you're well. Let's move forward, okay? Love you. It feels more like an announcement than a conversation. I don't call back. The last message of the night comes from Aunt Tracy, her words plain but sharp as a cold wind. Your mom is telling people you're unstable. Just a heads up. For a long while, I sit quietly, letting that sink in. I shouldn't be surprised, deflection is an old family sport. But hearing it still stings. I think about all the ways my story can be twisted, the subtle ways women are taught to doubt their own voices. The silence is heavy, but it's my own. I set my phone aside and pull the blanket over my legs, the snow outside glowing in the street lights. I open my journal again and write, "This is messy. But maybe I'd rather be messy and true than quiet and invisible." Tonight, I'm not sure if I'm the hero or the villain in my family story. Maybe I don't need to be either. Maybe I just need to be me. Family drama doesn't take a holiday. If anything, it multiplies this time of year. The world outside my window looks serene, fresh snow settling over the Minneapolis rooftops, Christmas lights glowing on porches, the city muffled and gentle under a wintry hush. Inside, my apartment is a patchwork of soft string lights, cinnamon candles, and the faint scent of pine from the tiny tree I picked up at the market. It's almost enough to trick me into believing peace is possible. But my phone shatters that illusion. The first message comes from Aunt Tracy, who wastes no time with small talk. "Heads up, Linda is telling everyone you're unstable. She says you ruined Thanksgiving and now she's worried about you." I'm sorry, honey. People are starting to ask questions. I stare at the screen, stomach tightening. Last Christmas, I remember my mother keeping the peace by pretending everything was fine, smiling through gritted teeth, smoothing over every awkward pause with a refill of cider. No one mentioned the argument between Alex and Madison. No one spoke of the year before, when Dad almost didn't come home for dinner. My mother is an expert at ignoring problems until they become too loud to contain. This year, I guess, the problem is me. I text Aunt Tracy back, "Thank you for letting me know. I wish she'd just talk to me." She responds almost immediately, "I know. You deserve better. Love you." The support is a balm, but it doesn't quiet the hum of anxiety beneath my skin. I try to focus on the simple comforts around me, the soft lights, the warmth of my favorite sweater, the gentle clink of the ornament I'm wrapping in tissue paper. It's a small glass snowflake I bought at a craft fair, delicate and hand-painted, a perfect gift for Grandma Ellie. She always said ornaments should mean something. That way, when you take them out each year, you remember not just the holiday, but the people who made it special. The phone rings. Grandma Ellie's voice is warm and steady, full of the wisdom that only comes with years of watching families tangle themselves up and untangle again. "Sweetheart, how are you holding up?" she asks. I don't bother to lie. A little worn down, honestly. "Mom's saying I'm unstable," Tracy says. I wish I could just skip Christmas and not feel so guilty. There's a soft, thoughtful pause on the line. "Your mother's always cared too much about what other people think. That's her flaw, not yours. The only thing that matters is how you treat yourself, Emily." Her words settle over me like a warm blanket. "Would you come to Christmas with me?" I blurt out, before I can overthink it. "I'm not sure I want to face everyone alone." She chuckles. "I was hoping you'd ask." We'll walk in together, heads high. It's time your mother remembers who her mother is. We both laugh, and for the first time in weeks, my heart feels lighter. We make a plan, Christmas Eve at the family house. I'll pick her up, she'll bring her famous toffee. Together, we'll weather whatever comes. Later, I text Rachel and ask if she wants to meet at Birch and Brew. When I arrive, the place is cozy and bustling, and Rachel is waiting with her signature chai latte and a look that says she's ready to listen. I spill everything, the Thanksgiving mess, my mom's rumors, my nerves about bringing Grandma Ellie. Rachel shakes her head, wrapping her hands around her mug. "You know, some people are only comfortable when everyone else is uncomfortable. Your mom can spin whatever story she wants, but you have every right to be at that dinner. And honestly, taking your grandmother is the classiest move you could make." I grin, feeling a rare boldness. I just want the truth out there. I'm tired of hiding. Rachel squeezes my hand. You're not hiding anymore. You're showing up. Walking home afterward, I feel the wind sting my cheeks, but inside I'm alight with something close to hope. Maybe this is what standing up for yourself feels like, not loud, not angry, but quietly sure. That evening, I pull out the ornament, nestling it into a small box with a note, "For Grandma Ellie, thank you for always seeing me." I place the box under my own tree, a promise to myself that some bonds are worth protecting. The next morning, I call Grandma Ellie again, confirming our plan. She laughs, and I can hear the pride in her voice. "We'll give them a holiday to remember, darling," she says. "Let's shake things up a bit." Her words echo in my mind all day. As I tidy the apartment and double-check the gifts, I find myself smiling. I imagine the look on my mother's face, the silence that will settle when Grandma Ellie walks in at my side. I imagine Madison's wide eyes, Alex's uncertain grin, and Tracy's quiet nod of encouragement. For years, I tiptoed through holidays, careful not to upset the balance. This year, I'm stepping into the room as myself, not as the family fixer or the forgotten daughter, but as someone who knows her own worth. There's power in that. There's grace, too. By the time evening falls, snow is swirling outside my window and the city glows golden blue. I sip peppermint tea, savoring the peace. The anxiety hasn't vanished, but it feels manageable, like a coat I can choose to put on or take off. My phone lights up one last time, Grandma Ellie, with a simple message, "We've got this. See you Christmas Eve." I set my tea down and look at the tiny tree, the box with the snowflake glinting beneath it. I don't know how the dinner will go, or if the truth will make a difference. But I do know this, I'm not going alone, and I'm not going quietly. Nothing says Merry Christmas quite like stepping into a house full of secrets. The Thompson family home glows in the winter dusk, wreath on the door, every window warm with light. I pause at the curb with Grandma Ellie, hands shaking only a little as I balance our gifts and the special snowflake ornament in a glossy paper bag. Ellie, resplendent in her emerald scarf, squeezes my arm. "Ready, darling?" "Not even a little," I whisper, and she laughs, bold as brass. As we walk up the icy front path, I think of the last time Ellie and Linda were under the same roof, years ago, before a falling out over something neither will now admit. That night, the air was thick with unsaid words, both women polite but icy, silence stretching out between them like a moat. Tonight, I'm not sure what will happen, but I know I won't fade into the wallpaper. Inside, the house is a whirl of activity. The kitchen is a battlefield, pots bubbling, Robert fussing over the roast, Aunt Tracy arranging cheese platters, Madison snapping selfies in the hallway mirror. The fire crackles in the living room, stockings lined up with precision. Conversation halts as Ellie and I step in. Linda turns, spatula in hand, and her smile flickers. "Mom? Emily?" Her voice hitches just slightly, as if she can't quite believe what she's seeing. There's a collective intake of breath from the extended family, every gaze bouncing between us, weighing the implications. "Surprise," Ellie says cheerfully, unwrapping her scarf. Emily thought it was time for a real family reunion. "It's been far too long, hasn't it?" Robert shuffles over, cheeks red, eyes darting everywhere but my face. "Good to see you, Em." "Ellie. Need a hand with those gifts?" He's trying to play peacemaker, but the tension is as thick as the gravy cooling on the counter. Madison glances at me, uncertainty flickering in her eyes, and then quickly looks away. Alex, always the quiet observer, gives me a small nod and a half smile, a signal of silent support I'm grateful for. We're ushered into the living room. Grandma Ellie and Linda exchange a polite hug, stiff as coat racks. "Can I get anyone something to drink?" Linda asks, voice bright and brittle. Red wine for me, Ellie replies, settling into the armchair as if she owns the place. Dinner prep continues, everyone moving through the rituals of the holiday, carving meat, setting out the best dishes, fussing over the cranberry sauce. I do my part, placing the snowflake ornament on the tree, tucking my contribution onto the dessert table, but I refuse to retreat into the background this time. I watch, I listen, and I catch every sideways glance. The meal itself is a master class in avoidance. Conversation is stilted, no one daring to bring up Thanksgiving or the family rift, but everything unspoken simmers just below the surface. Madison barely eats, her gaze darting between me and our mother. Alex fills his plate, then quietly sits beside me, making gentle, almost protective small talk. Aunt Tracy tries valiantly to keep things light, but even she can't cut through the static. Ellie, for her part, is in fine form. She compliments the roast, perfectly done, even without a turkey, then slips in, "Isn't it funny how much we count on tradition, even when it doesn't serve us?" Linda bristles, but says nothing. Grandma's words linger in the air, daring someone to address the elephant in the room. The meal drags on, plates emptied more out of habit than hunger. Dessert arrives, store-bought pie, someone's gingerbread, Ellie's famous toffee. She insists on handing out pieces herself, pausing at each person, making small comments, each one carrying a double meaning about honesty, about family, about being present. I watch Madison fidget, and for the first time, I see cracks in her certainty. After coffee, as we sit surrounded by torn wrapping paper and half-empty glasses, Ellie stands and raises her wine. To family, she begins, her voice clear and carrying. Not just the ones who show up, but the ones who make us show up for ourselves. Here's to learning, sometimes the hard way, that ignoring problems doesn't make them go away. Sometimes it takes a little chaos to find the truth, and a little courage to speak it. To showing up, even when it's hard. There's a moment of stunned silence. I catch Linda's expression, tight, defensive, maybe even a little wounded. Alex clinks his glass with Ellie's. Aunt Tracy gives a knowing nod. The spell breaks. The room comes back to life, people talking, moving, music starting up in the background. Grandma Ellie winks at me. I feel both lighter and heavier, the truth of her words settling into my bones. The evening winds down. I slip out to the back porch for some air, watching the snow swirl under the porch light. Alex joins me, hands shoved deep in his pockets. "We should talk, soon," he says quietly, eyes on the frozen yard. I nod, my heart pounding. "I'd like that." Inside, I hear Madison laughing with some cousins, but her laughter is unsure, brittle at the edges. She catches my eye through the window, looks quickly away, then glances back. There's a question in her gaze, one I hope she'll have the courage to ask. When Grandma Ellie finds me, she presses my hand. "You did well, darling." Sometimes just being present is an act of bravery. As we drive home, I replay every moment, the tension, the speeches, the awkward grace of a family learning how to look itself in the eye. Christmas is complicated, and love is sometimes hidden beneath layers of old wounds and polite silence. But tonight, I feel a small spark of hope. Maybe the truth isn't the enemy. Maybe it's the beginning. After the party, when the house finally empties of laughter and paper hats and the sticky scent of cider, that's when the real conversations begin. Christmas Eve stretches into the quiet hours, snow soft against the windows. The Thompson kitchen, usually a flurry of voices and clinking dishes, is almost peaceful now. The leftovers are cooling on the counter, and the only light is the glow above the stove. I stand with a mug of tea, trying to steady myself, unsure if what happened tonight will truly change anything. Grandma Ellie's toast echoes in my head, family only works when we're honest with each other. It felt brave in the moment, but now that the applause has faded, honesty just feels exposed. Alex wanders in, hands shoved in his pockets, a restlessness in his walk. He leans on the counter, eyes fixed on a plate of half-eaten cookies. I sense he's working up to something. When he finally speaks, his voice is low, careful. You know, he says, Mom had no right to leave you out of Thanksgiving. I didn't agree with her. He lets out a heavy breath. I didn't know what to do. Sometimes, it's easier to stay quiet and hope things blow over. I watch him, surprised by the admission. Alex has always been the peacemaker, cracking jokes, changing the subject when things got tense. But there's a weariness in his eyes tonight that I haven't seen before. I get it, I say softly. But it hurts to be left alone to fight my own battles. He nods, finally looking at me. I'm sorry. I wish I'd done something. You didn't deserve that. Madison hovers in the doorway, half in the light, half out. She fiddles with her phone but keeps glancing at us, as if she's trying to read the room before choosing where to stand. I remember a Christmas when we were kids, Madison, maybe 10, crushed after an argument with a friend, curled up on the stairs while the grown-ups carried on around her. I'd sat beside her until she was ready to rejoin the world, rubbing her back and telling her that even when you feel left out, it doesn't last forever. Now, the roles feel reversed. The memory passes as Grandma Ellie slips into the kitchen. She moves with the grace of someone who has seen decades of family drama and knows most of it passes in time. She offers me a quiet smile, then touches my shoulder. I hope you know, she says, doing what's right doesn't always feel good right away. But it matters. You reminded everyone what honesty looks like. Her words are a balm, and I lean into them. I've spent years swallowing what I wanted to say, not wanting to add to the noise. Tonight, I let myself believe it's okay to want more. Aunt Tracy appears, voice soft so it won't carry down the hall. I'm proud of you, Em. Most people would have just let things slide. It's not easy being the first to stand up. I blink away sudden tears, embarrassed by the emotion bubbling up. Thanks, Tracy. I couldn't keep pretending. She nods, squeezing my hand. Sometimes, that's all it takes. A little light in a dark room. We fall into an easy quiet, punctuated only by the hum of the fridge and the tick of the old kitchen clock. Then, as if on cue, Linda walks in, stopping short at the sight of the four of us clustered together. Her eyes flicker, guarded, wary. Alex straightens, voice stronger than I expect. Mom, why did you do it? He asks. Why did you make Emily feel like she didn't belong? That's not how families are supposed to work. Linda's shoulders tense, and for a moment, she looks lost. I just wanted to keep things simple, she mutters, her usual certainty absent. I didn't think it would hurt anyone. I didn't want any drama. I swallow, the words burning at the back of my throat. Leaving someone out is drama, Mom. It's the worst kind. Linda looks at me, eyes glistening. She opens her mouth to respond but stops, as if she can't find an answer that won't unravel everything. There's a long pause. I hear the faint strains of holiday music drifting in from the living room, the laughter of distant cousins, the clink of a glass somewhere down the hall. Life carrying on, even as this small truth reshapes our corner of the world. Madison finally steps fully into the light, arms crossed, eyes darting between me and Linda. I can see the conflict on her face, wanting to understand, wanting to stay loyal, maybe for the first time realizing how complicated family can be. Grandma Ellie breaks the tension, squeezing my hand one last time. You did good, kiddo. Go get some sleep. Aunt Tracy slips away to help with the last of the dishes. Alex stands beside me for a moment longer, then says, "We'll figure this out." "I promise." I nod, believing him for the first time in a long while. Madison lingers, her gaze locked on me, then flicking to Linda, then back again. She doesn't say a word, but her indecision is as loud as any argument. I remember how it felt to be the little sister, searching for a place to belong. I hope she finds hers. Later, as I settle into bed, the house stills around me. The leftover tension is palpable, like the electricity in the air before a storm. But beneath it, there's something new, a sense that maybe, just maybe, I'm not alone anymore. Sometimes silence says more than an argument ever could. But Christmas night, after the long drive back to my apartment, the silence doesn't last. My phone glows on the coffee table, first one notification, then a cascade, the family group chat exploding like New Year's fireworks. I curl up on the sofa, still in my coat, and read the first message from Mom. "Linda, so sorry about the tension tonight. Some people can't handle difficult conversations and decided to create a scene." There it is, her favorite trick. When challenged, change the subject and rewrite the story. I picture her tapping the message out at the kitchen counter, the hum of the dishwasher behind her, smoothing the narrative before it can drift beyond her control. More replies stack beneath hers. "Aunt Marcia, oh dear. Hope everything's okay. Uncle Rick, family, am I right?" No one names me, but everyone knows. A few cousins add sympathetic emojis and hope all's well platitudes. The subtext is clear, Emily caused trouble again. I pull a blanket over my legs, breathe deeply, and remind myself of Grandma Ellie's toast, family works when we're honest. If Mom wants to paint me in neon drama, I can reply in calm watercolor. My thumbs hover. Then I type. "Emily, hi, everyone. No scene was intended tonight. Grandma and I simply joined dinner when we were invited. I'm fine, and I'm grateful to those who welcomed us warmly. Wishing you all a peaceful holiday." I reread it twice, polite, steady, no blame, then hit send. The chat shows Emily is typing, then falls still. 10 seconds. 30. A full minute. No one reacts. Silence, louder than any argument. A separate text pops up, "Alex. Alex, proud of you. Needed saying. Call if you need anything." I smile, tension easing. Next, Madison's name appears. "Madison, do you really think Mom would lie?" My heart nudges against my ribs. I picture her on her bed at home, phone glowing in the dark, confusion folding her brow. She's never questioned Mom out loud. I answer carefully. I think Mom's scared of looking bad. Sometimes that makes people twist the truth. Want to talk over coffee? No judgments, just us. The typing dots appear, vanish, appear again. While I wait, Rachel's name flashes. "Rachel, saw your post yet?" She's linked a photo, me and Grandma Ellie under the Thompsons' Christmas tree, Ellie mid-wink, me laughing. Aunt Tracy must have snapped it. The caption reads "Honest Holidays." My pulse jumps, Tracy planted the truth like a seed. Rachel follows up. "Rachel, whole vibe says, she's fine, folks. Trust your voice, Em. You're doing great." Her faith steadies me. I set the phone aside and pad to the kitchen, the apartment hushed except for the heater knocking in the vents. Snow-laden moonlight silvers the countertops. I warm milk on the stove, a childhood comfort, and think of another winter night years ago, Madison crying after a sleepover fallout, me sneaking to heat cocoa for us both. I sat with her until she stopped shaking. Family means showing up, I'd told her then. The milk steams, I whisk in cocoa, pour it into a mug stamped with faded holly leaves. Back on the couch, the phone buzzes again. Madison, okay. I want to hear your side. Relief unfurls in my chest, soft, tentative. I reply with a cafe suggestion downtown, neutral territory. Mid-drafting, Mom posts again in the group chat. Linda, glad everything is settled. Let's focus on love and move forward. I don't answer. The family sends quick thumbs-ups, the conversation drifts to leftover recipes. Mom's version has taken root for some, but I've learned a quiet fact tonight: a single truthful voice can steady the room, even if it shakes while speaking. I sip cocoa, savoring the stillness. Outside, the city snowplows rumble by, their orange lights sweeping across the ceiling. Inside, the tree lights blink slow and warm. In the silence that follows, my phone stays dark, and for once the quiet feels honest, an exhale instead of a hush. Tomorrow will bring more questions, maybe apologies, maybe none. But tonight I have an ally in Alex, a tentative bridge in Madison, and the steady certainty of my own story told clearly. I turn off the sofa lamp, leaving only the tree aglow, and whisper to the room, to myself, to anyone who might need to hear it, truth is enough. I pulled into my parents' driveway on a brittle January afternoon, the kind where the snowbanks turned gray at the edges and the air bit through wool like it had teeth. My boots crunched with each step toward the door. I hadn't been here since last Easter, and even then, I hadn't stayed long. Linda, Mom, opened the door with a tight smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Come in, Emily," she said. "Let's put all this behind us, okay?" I stepped inside, brushing snow from my coat. The living room looked the same as ever, neatly stacked magazines, a flickering electric fireplace, the scent of cinnamon-scented cleaner lingering in the air. It was trying too hard to feel like home. Alex stood by the window, hands in his pockets, and gave me a small nod. Madison sat curled on the arm of the sofa, not quite meeting my eyes, but not looking away either. And Dad, Robert, was already in his recliner, fingers laced over his stomach, gaze fixed somewhere in the neutral middle distance. Linda motioned for me to sit. "I thought we should clear the air. We all want to move forward, don't we?" I lowered myself onto the edge of the couch cushion, hands folded in my lap. "Sure. But moving forward doesn't mean pretending nothing happened." Her jaw tightened. "Well, I never meant for things to get so out of hand." Alex scoffed. "You didn't mean for it? You told people Emily wasn't coming. You made that decision for her." Linda turned to him sharply. "I was trying to avoid conflict." "You think it was easy, planning the holidays with so much tension?" I swallowed the heat rising in my chest. "Tension you created." Robert shifted in his chair but said nothing. I glanced at him, then back at Linda. "You excluded me. And then you acted like I overreacted for noticing." Linda sat straighter. "That's not fair. I didn't think you'd mind." "Why?" I asked, voice quiet but firm. "Because I've always said yes to everything? Because I clean up without complaining?" No one moved. The air felt thick with unsaid things. Alex spoke again. "You've been doing this for years, Mom. Playing peacekeeper while hurting people. You never admit when you're wrong." Linda looked at him like he'd slapped her. Finally, Robert stirred. "Maybe I should have said something earlier," he mumbled. "I just didn't want to take sides." I turned to him. "But silence is a side, Dad." He lowered his gaze, nodding faintly. I took a breath, heart thudding. "Were you embarrassed by me?" I asked Linda. Or were you embarrassed by yourself? The question hung in the room like a lit match. Linda blinked. Once. Twice. I didn't want to be the bad guy, she whispered. I leaned back, the words landing with more sadness than victory. That was it. Not guilt, not reflection, just fear of being perceived as wrong. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Madison stood up slowly and walked over. Her voice was soft. I'm sorry, Em. For not seeing it before. I believed her. I didn't think to ask. I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't the kid I used to babysit anymore. She was growing up, even if we'd grown apart. Thank you, I said, and meant it. Alex cleared his throat. So what now? I don't know, I said. But pretending everything's fine isn't going to fix anything. Linda's eyes were glossy, but she didn't cry. I'm willing to try, she said. If you'll let me. I nodded, slowly. Trying is a start. But next time, don't speak for me. Let me show up, or not, on my own terms. Outside, sunlight filtered through bare trees, casting long shadows on the living room rug. It wasn't perfect. But it was honest. And that, for now, was enough. I watched the snow melt slowly outside the dining room window, droplets trailing down the glass like tears from the sky. The house was quieter than usual, the kind of quiet that comes after something breaks and everyone's waiting to see what can be rebuilt. Grandma Ellie sat beside me, fingers wrapped around her cup of tea, the steam curling like breath into the afternoon air. Linda cleared her throat from across the table, and I turned to face her. Her expression was softer than I'd seen in years, no clipboard, no phone, no armor of holiday perfection. I owe you more than just a pie and a seat at the table, she said, voice barely above a whisper. I owe you the truth. I didn't speak. I wanted to let her find her own way through it. She took a breath. I was afraid, she admitted. Not of you, of what people might think of me. That I'd failed somehow, that if they saw you standing apart, they'd wonder what kind of mother I was. Her hands trembled. I told myself it was easier to keep the peace, to avoid scenes. But I ended up creating more pain instead. Robert, sitting beside her, reached out and touched her arm. She deserved better, he said, glancing toward me. We both know that. For a long moment, I just listened to the clock tick. The same one that had hung in this dining room since I was little. The sound used to make me feel safe. Familiar. But now, it just felt old, tired. I spent years wondering what I did wrong, I finally said. Why I always had to earn my place, while others were simply handed theirs. I cooked. I paid. I stayed quiet. And it still wasn't enough. Linda's eyes welled with tears. It wasn't about you. It was about me. But it hurt me, I replied gently. I need to say that out loud. Alex nodded, looking down at his hands. I should have spoken up sooner, he said. I saw it. I didn't know how to help without making it worse. I didn't see it at all, Madison added quietly. But now I can't unsee it. I'm sorry, Emily. I looked at each of them. These were the same faces I'd grown up with, but something had shifted. Maybe in them, maybe in me. I don't need everyone to be perfect, I said. I just need honesty. And space. Linda's brow furrowed. Space? Boundaries, I explained. A little breathing room. I'm not ready to pretend everything's fine. But I'm willing to find a new way, if we all are. Grandma Ellie smiled knowingly beside me. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, she said. It means remembering with grace. There was a silence after that. Not the strained, uncomfortable silence we'd had before, but something gentler. Linda reached across the table. Can we try to fix things? I didn't take her hand. But I didn't pull away either. Maybe, I said softly. But we'll have to start from where we are. Not where you wish we were. Later, as we gathered coats and prepared to leave, I reached into my bag and pulled out the ornament I'd picked weeks ago. A small glass tree, inside of which a cardinal perched on a tiny snow-dusted branch. For you, I told Grandma Ellie. She held it with reverence, her thumb brushing the curve of the glass. A reminder? Of where courage starts, I said. And of who helped me find it. Snowflakes danced on the February breeze as I waited outside the cafe, the air sharp but not cruel. Madison arrived a minute late, cheeks flushed from the cold, her scarf tucked awkwardly into her coat. For once, she wasn't looking at her phone. I got us a window seat, I said, nodding inside. We sat with mugs between us, hers chai, mine black coffee with just a splash of cream. For a while, neither of us spoke. Just the rhythm of sips, of glances, of hesitation melting like the snow outside. I used to think you were just distant, Madison said finally. But I think I never asked why. I smiled gently. And I used to think you never noticed I was even in the room. She winced a little, but nodded. That's fair. We talked, really talked. About birthdays where I'd cleaned up alone. About texts left unread. About Mom's shifting expectations and how quietly I'd disappeared from the center of it all. I don't want to be like that, she said, eyes bright. If I ever made you feel like you didn't matter. I'm sorry. I think we were both following a script someone else wrote, I said. It's okay to write a new one. Later that week, I met Grandma Ellie at the park. The snow had crusted at the edges of the path, but the sun was shining with that stubborn Midwestern optimism. You're walking straighter these days, she said, linking her arm through mine. I feel lighter, I admitted. It's not all fixed, but I'm not carrying it alone anymore. She patted my hand. The first step is knowing what's yours to carry, and what you can set down. Back at my apartment, I unpacked a few new plants, tiny succulents and a peace lily. The sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, catching on their leaves like something alive was finally growing here. I wasn't just surviving this winter. I was cultivating something. Alex showed up that afternoon with a box of old books I'd left at the house. You always did have better taste than me, he joked, setting them on my shelf. We didn't talk about Mom. We didn't have to. It was enough that he was here, that he looked me in the eye when he said, I'm proud of you. As the sky deepened into early evening, I stood in my kitchen with tea warming my palms, looking at the stillness of my home. Not empty, just quiet. The kind of quiet I chose. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Madison. Next Thanksgiving, let's do it differently. I didn't respond right away. I just stared at the message, my heart steady. There was no plan. No demand. Just an opening. The air smelled different in April. Softer. Like forgiveness lingering in the breeze. Tulips bloomed along the sidewalks, their bright colors nudging against winter's last breath. I stood outside the cafe with Grandma Ellie, waiting for the others to arrive. She wore a lilac scarf and smiled like spring itself. It's a good day, she said. It is, I nodded, and I meant it. Inside, the cafe buzzed with weekend life, plates clinking, kids laughing, the scent of fresh waffles and brewed coffee floating like music. We took a table by the window, sunlight streaming in as naturally as the conversation. Alex arrived first, grinning with a box of pastries under his arm. "They had your favorite," he said, sliding it toward me. "Cinnamon twists." Madison came next, holding tulips, actual tulips. "I thought they'd match the morning," she said shyly. Aunt Tracy slid into the booth beside Grandma, sipping something green and suspicious-looking. "Look at us," she said, "a brunch that doesn't need wine to survive." I laughed. And it felt real. Light, not guarded. Linda and Robert arrived a few minutes later. No grand entrance, no awkward hugs. Just a quiet presence, like guests learning how to be part of the room again without taking up all the air. Conversation ebbed and flowed, books we were reading, Madison's new job, Alex's trip plans. No one tiptoed. No one snapped. Even Linda smiled, occasionally. She didn't interrupt. Didn't try to steer. She just listened. At one point, Robert passed me the cream for my coffee without being asked. Small, but noticed. Grandma Ellie caught my eye. She didn't say anything, just gave me that look, half knowing, half proud. After we paid, we lingered outside in the sun. Everyone hugged, softer now, like people who finally understood each other weren't made of glass, but of something more resilient. Linda and Robert walked a little behind the rest of us. I didn't invite them closer. But I didn't step away, either. As I approached my car, the ornament hanging from my rearview mirror caught the sunlight, a tiny cardinal inside a glass tree. I'd almost forgotten it was there. I sat in the driver's seat and let the moment sink in. I wasn't healed, not completely. But I wasn't hiding, either. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't to shout, it's to show up. To stay open. To keep loving, even if you've been bruised. I glanced at the ornament and whispered, "Thank you," unsure who I was saying it to, Grandma Ellie, myself, maybe both. There was a time when I believed speaking up would cost me my family. But now I see, it gave me back my peace. In life, healing doesn't always come from apologies, it comes from choosing honesty, and letting love walk beside it. Families can falter, even forget, but there's strength in standing your ground with grace. As Grandma Ellie once said, forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's remembering with softness. If this story reminds you of a moment in your own life, I hope you'll share it. Sometimes, the hardest conversations are the ones that bring us home.